Hello, welcome to my kitchen here at Trails N62. I'm going to be doing another soup today, and this time it's lasagna soup. Now, don't think lasagna when you think about lasagna soup. Just think of the flavor, the taste. Now, when you cook this, you can add pasta to it, you can add ricotta cheese to it, you can add Parmesan cheese, you can add mushrooms, different things like that when you cook it and eat it. You can put the mushrooms in while you're canning it if you want to. I don't. But it's lasagna soup. And then when you cook it, like I said, when you cook it up, you add the other stuff in. So we're going to begin with our lasagna soup. First of all, we're going to begin by making our liquid part of it. And while that is heating, then we're going to be par-cooking our hamburger and cook our onions in with it and the garlic in with it. Because we'll be putting that in the jars, and I'm going to be making this in quart jars. Be putting it in the jars separate from the liquid, and then we'll be adding the liquid on top of it. That way we get the same amount of meat in each jar. And like I said, I'll be doing quart jars because, well, a pint of soup just isn't a whole lot of soup for me. So a quart, and if there's some left over, hey, leftover soup is always best the second day, just like chili. It always seems to get better as it sets. That's my opinion. So we're going to begin here with doing our liquid. Begin with our liquids. The first thing we're going to use is 8 cups of crushed tomatoes. I happen to have some that I canned. So I'm going to put 2 quarts of these. That's 8 cups of crushed tomatoes. Then we're going to add 1/4 cup of beef broth. 1/4 cup of beef broth. We're going to put in 1 6-ounce can of tomato paste. Or if you can your own tomato paste, you can just use that. I don't, because I don't use a lot of tomato paste. So the 6-ounce can here will work just fine. Now, following the tomato paste, we're going to be putting in some spices. And I have a 1/2 tablespoon of crushed red pepper flakes, a 1/2 tablespoon of pepper, a 1/2 tablespoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of oregano, a 1/2 tablespoon of Italian seasoning, and 1 tablespoon of dried basil. And we'll just put that in there. Now I know my pot here is probably a little big for the amount that I have, but this pot heats good. And it'll heat up fast this way. And it was handy. I'll turn my heat on. I'm going to give this a good stir. And we want to bring this to boil to be able to put it into the pan. Or put it in the jars. Now while the liquid is heating up, I'm going to par cook 2.5 pounds of ground beef, 1.5 cups of chopped carrots, diced carrots, and then I'll put in some garlic, minced garlic here just as this is about to get done. So I'm going to go ahead and saute this up. When I get this finished, all done, pretty close to the end, I'll put in 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. And then I will put this in a strainer. I'll run hot water over it, drain the grease off of it. And this will go in the jars first. Then we'll put the liquid in. Okay, as I was cooking my hamburger up, I par cook it It was about 3/4 done. That's the way I like to do my hamburger if I'm going to pressure can it. So I did it and put it in the jars, and while it was doing that, I was heating up my juice, my sauce, and bring it to a boil. And then we evened up our hamburger between the quart jars. Now, originally when I designed the amounts in this recipe, I designed it for 1.5 pint jars. So it would have made 4 1.5 pint jars that I could have put in my electric canner, because it takes 4 quarts, 4 1.5 pints. But I didn't have 4 1.5 pint jars, clean jars left, so I had to go with quarts, which only made 3 instead of the 4 1.5 pints. Same amount of soup, I just have to put it in 3 jars instead of 4. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to put the liquids into 1-inch headspace, and I want to make sure I have enough juice, enough sauce. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do each jar a little at a time. So I'm going to put in a cup in each one and then debubble. Once I've done that, that way it evens everything out as I go through the process, so I don't take a chance of getting some big air bubbles stuck in the middle of the hamburger, and I equal out the amount of sauce I put in each jar. Now I'll put another cup in each jar and debubble once again. Now once I'm at that stage, I can just put in the rest of the juice. There's not a whole lot of it left, which is perfect. Because we're just about to our 1-inch headspace. Now as you can see, there's not much left. Came out almost perfect. I've got my 1-inch headspace. I'm not going to try to put any more in, fill these up anymore. You have to have that 1-inch headspace, especially when you have a lot of liquid, because when the liquid starts boiling during the canning process, it can boil up and boil over, and then you get some seepage into your water in your canner. So, and you can get some of the solids up through there too, and that'll keep it from sealing. So we want to make sure we have the 1-inch headspace. Now we're ready to cap these up, put them in the electric Nesco canner. Now we'll wipe our rims down with vinegar. Make sure there's nothing on the rims because we want them to seal. Put the rest of my vinegar in my canner because we have extremely hard water, and that keeps white stuff from getting on the outside. It's mineral deposits on the outside of the jars or on the lids during the canning process. Rings on, finger tight, into the canner. I have my 8 cups of hot water in my canner just like it calls for. Everything's been checked, ready to go. Close our lid, lock it down. Weight is on exhaust. Plugged in, on high. These are quarts, so they'll go for 90 minutes. There it goes. Lasagna soup. There we go. They all 3 sealed, so make some good soup. And it looks good too. It looks good and thick. Now, to serve the lasagna soup, you serve it over, well, basically you can serve it with whatever kind of pasta you want. You can take any kind of pasta spiral pasta, elbow pasta. I think there's a pasta called mafata or something like that. That kind of looks like little ravioli, little lasagna strips. Or for that matter, you can take lasagna pasta that you have and cook it up, break it up, or cut it after you cook it into slices and put it in there. So you can do whatever you want with the pasta, but you serve it over the pasta. Put in a quarter to a third a cup of Parmesan cheese, whatever you like. And then you can put other cheeses in it. Ricotta cheese, put a dollop of ricotta cheese in your bowl. Maybe some mozzarella cheese, shredded mozzarella cheese would go good in there. But and you can put mushrooms in there to add to it. So there you have it. Lasagna soup, ready to go. Now, eating my lasagna soup, I'm going to take about 2 cups of dehydrated pasta here. These are the penne pasta that I dehydrated, and I'm going to put it into a bowl, and I'll cover it with water, and then I'll microwave it for about 5 minutes. That heats up the water and aids in the incorporation of the water back into the pasta. Then I'll leave it set for a while before I put it into the soup. I'll bring the soup to a boil and then add the pasta to it, and it'll finish rehydrating in the soup. Alright, so it looks like I only actually needed 1 cup of the penne noodles, because they expanded out quite a bit. Turned out pretty good. As you can see, I had some left over, and I added them, brought this to a boil, add these to it, put in some mozzarella cheese. It was kind of a blended cheese, and some Parmesan cheese put in here and mixed in it. Well, you can put some of that, what do they call that other stuff they use, ricotta cheese or something like that. You can put other kind of cheeses in here that you want. But there it is, nice, thick, hearty lasagna soup. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you subscribing and watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Till next time, from my house to yours, from my kitchen to your kitchen. God bless.